The way of life in a medieval village. Imagine this. You wake up to the sound of a rooster, not an alarm clock. There's no electricity, no phones, no cars. You step outside, and the smell of wood smoke fills the crisp morning air. Around you are thatched cottages, muddy paths, and the distant toll of a church bell calling villagers to prayer. This isn't a movie set. It's daily life in a medieval village. Today, we're stepping back in time to explore what life was really like for ordinary people in the Middle Ages. From the food they ate, to the work they did, to the customs that shaped their world, you'll see how medieval villagers survived and even thrived without the comforts we take for granted. So let's begin. The structure of the village. A medieval village was more than just a collection of houses. It was an entire system of life, built around survival, work, and faith. Most villages were small, often just a few dozen families. At the center stood the church, a constant reminder of the importance of religion. Next to it, there might be a village green where animals grazed, markets were held, or festivals took place. Surrounding the core were cottages made of wattle and daub, woven wood plastered with clay and mud. Roofs were thatched with straw. Homes were simple, usually 1 or 2 rooms, and families often shared space with their animals to keep warm in the winter. The village was also part of the manorial system. This meant most land belonged to a lord, who lived in a nearby manor or castle. Villagers, known as peasants or serfs, worked his land in exchange for protection. In return, the lord provided security, because life outside the village could be dangerous, with bandits, wars, and raids always a possibility. So the medieval village was both a community and a survival machine. Every person had a role to play. Daily work and responsibilities. If you lived in a medieval village, your life revolved around work, hard, physical work. The majority of villagers were farmers. They tilled the fields, sowed seeds, and harvested crops like wheat, barley, and oats. Farming was backbreaking, especially without modern machines. Everything was done by hand, using simple tools like wooden plows, sickles, and scythes. But farming wasn't just about crops. Villagers raised livestock, chickens, pigs, cows, and sheep. Cows gave milk, sheep provided wool, and pigs were a valuable source of meat. Men, women, and even children all worked. Boys helped in the fields, while girls helped their mothers with cooking, spinning wool, or fetching water. There was no such thing as free time in the way we think of it. Work and survival were constant companions. Still, not everyone was a farmer. Some villagers were craftsmen. Blacksmiths made tools, millers ground grain, and carpenters built furniture. These trades kept the village running and gave people small opportunities to specialize. In short, life was about labor, but it was labor that sustained the entire community. Food and daily meals. So, what did villagers eat after all that hard work? The diet of a medieval villager was simple but filling. Bread was the staple food, often dark and coarse, made from rye or barley rather than white wheat, which was reserved for the wealthy. Alongside bread, villagers ate pottage, a kind of stew made with vegetables, grains, and occasionally meat. Meat was rare for peasants. Most of it went to the lord or was too expensive to afford. Instead, people ate fish, cheese, eggs, and whatever they could grow in their gardens. Cabbage, onions, beans, and peas. Herbs flavored their meals, but sugar and exotic spices were luxuries they'd never see. For drink, water wasn't always safe, so ale was common, even for children. It was weak compared to modern beer, but it kept people hydrated. Food changed with the seasons. In summer and autumn, fresh produce was plentiful. In winter, diets were lean, and survival often depended on stored grains or preserved food. Hunger was a constant threat if crops failed. So while meals may sound plain, they were the fuel that kept villagers alive through long days of work. Faith, festivals, and community life. Life in a medieval village wasn't just about work and food. It was also about community and faith. The church was the heart of the village, spiritually and socially. People attended Mass regularly, and the church calendar shaped the rhythm of the year. Sundays and holy days gave villagers a break from work, while festivals marked important events. Festivals were some of the rare times when villagers could relax and have fun. There were feasts, dancing, music, and games. May Day celebrations, harvest festivals, and Christmas feasts brought people together and added joy to otherwise hard lives. Faith also provided comfort in times of struggle. Life expectancy was short, disease was common, and death was a constant presence. The promise of heaven gave meaning and hope, while the fear of sin shaped behavior. Beyond religion, community life thrived in small ways, helping neighbors repair a roof, sharing food during hard times, or gathering around the fire to hear stories. Villagers depended on one another. In a world full of uncertainty, community was survival, hardships and challenges. As charming as medieval villages may seem in our imagination, life was far from easy. Illness and disease were constant threats. There were no doctors as we know them today, and medicine was based more on superstition than science. Something as simple as a fever or infected wound could be fatal. Famine was another danger. If a harvest failed due to bad weather, pests, or war, the village could face starvation. Then there was the heavy burden of taxes and dues. Peasants paid rent to the Lord, tithes to the church, and often had little left for themselves. War was also a looming danger. Villages could be raided by rival lords, foreign invaders, or roaming soldiers. Fire was another risk, since homes were made of wood and thatch. A single spark could destroy an entire village. So while there was beauty and community, life in a medieval village was also a constant struggle for survival. Conclusion: life in a medieval village was a world of contrasts. On one hand, it was tough, filled with backbreaking labor, disease, and hardship. On the other hand, it was a life rooted in community, faith, and resilience. Villagers may not have had the luxuries we enjoy today, but they had a strong connection to the land, to each other, and to traditions that shaped generations. So next time you hear the church bell ring in an old village or walk through cobbled streets that once were muddy tracks, remember the people who lived, worked, and dreamed there centuries ago. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating videos on medieval history. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep exploring the past.